Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be jumping back down into the charts for a brief update on Bitcoin, seeing what's been going on most recently, what's going on with the market leader, and what I think might happen next. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, you know what to do. Hit the like button. If you happen to be new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And remember, join us in Discord. Links are in the description below. It's a fantastic community, completely free to join, so why not check it out? Okay guys, let's get right on into this one though, right? So Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is our data source, and we have seen a pretty volatile movement to the downside just here. Okay, and we want to kind of dissect what this might mean. Now essentially, if we do come back up into my crypto list here, we can take a look at the DXY. We can see that essentially what's gone on here is the DXY went green, which basically means Bitcoin goes red. Essentially these are how the two things kind of work. Basically, as the dollar goes up in value, assets that are used to kind of pair against it go down in value. This is why we don't really tend to do crypto trading against two volatile assets, like say Ethereum versus Bitcoin, for example. Two volatile assets, you have to understand how one's negative price action might have a positive impact on the other and so forth. And this is the same thing with the dollar. When the dollar goes up, Bitcoin will go down. And when the dollar goes down, Bitcoin will go up, right? So we have to understand those things. Essentially, let's dive down into this structure though. So we were talking about our potential 5-wave structure actually finishing down here, right? And for the most part, that might not be quite right. Okay, so we're looking at this good run to the upside, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty reasonable. We're going to jump into that in a second. We've had a really deep retracement with this. It's pulled back to 19,600 already. Okay, and I think when I was talking about this morning, we were taking a look at it potentially from this angle, where we're like, about 19,300. But obviously, if we were to reflect on this maybe not yet being fully complete, then we could be talking 19,200. So there's a few things down here that are interesting right now with our 5-wave structure moving all the way from the upside here. Okay, we have obviously pulled back down in a really significant way. So I do think that we have kind of hit this local bottom, and what's happened here is basically the DXY going up, pulling crypto down, but essentially I'm hoping that we actually get a reversal. There are a couple of concerns, though, that basically mean that maybe we haven't quite finished and we might need to, continue our corrective structures, right? So let's go and jump into this, right? So straight off the bat, we kind of have this wave 2 area here. Now, we were thinking this area was wave 4. Coming up to this little fraction here and then pulling back down. Now we might actually have to rework this a little bit to make this our wave 4 high point and then pull back to the downside. But again, I'll show you what I'm most concerned with when it comes to Bitcoin, just so you're fully aware. And it's basically the stochastic RSI on the 4-hour and the 8-hour. Okay, these are very, very high in the overbought ranges, whereas the hourly is actually oversold, so we could see a relief bounce to a degree here before pulling back down. What we need to see is the 4-hourly come back down to the oversold area and the 8-hourly to come down to the oversold area, so that it can be down here with our daily chart. The weekly, of course, does need to pull back to the downside, and we've still got a lot of corrections required in order to do that, which is why we're really looking to finish off this 5-wave structure to the downside so that we can start moving up towards our $22,500 and $24,500 targets. So for BTC here, it's still quite volatile. We've got a lot of concern, and basically it could mean that we haven't necessarily finished this correction. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so originally, as per this morning's stream, we were kind of tracking this like so. Okay, like that. Basically meaning that our macro 5th wave is done down here and completed down here. Okay, however, it's also possible that maybe this is our wave 4 and the R still got to come down a little bit lower to finish off our 5th wave, right? Now, when we start to scale that out and just starting to look at the waves and how that formed, that is a bit reasonable, but a little bit more unusual at the same time. If we go ahead and grab this, for example, we can see that normally our wave 4s are around that that range of about 38.2%. That's usually where they end up. It's a typical kind of retracement, and that is pretty much where we went up to here, around this area of 20,392. Yet, we did come up a little bit higher, so it could still be considered a wave 4, and I'm going to be leaving it like that for the next few hours just to see how things play out. Okay, now essentially, if we go ahead and try to map out what's going on within this structure here, we can see whether or not we've actually hit a 5-wave structure to the upside, or whether it's just a 3-wave structure, because wave 4s should only ever be 3-wave structures, okay? Now here we can see that we did not hit this impulsive trigger point, and we created overlap within this. So unless it's a kind of a leading diagonal, which I don't think is the case, then this is considered 3 waves to the upside, okay? We'd have to take it either from here or here. It doesn't really matter which. So if I just grab hold of this, we can basically just take it from that end there, and we end up with that kind of WXY kind of scenario. But basically we'd have to consider it 3 waves, which would fit within our 4th wave parameters, okay? A 4th wave cannot be 5 waves. It can only be 3 waves. So if we are to look at this as a 5-wave structure, we'd also know that it's not technically a 5-wave move. It could be a WXYXZ, for example, but it can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they've got a clear distinction there for what wave 4 would be expecting, and obviously what we would expect within our 5-wave structures. So we know it's not 5-wave impulsive move to the upside. Now, on this downward move, we do have a very clear impulsive direction, which would be more aligned to what we would expect to see with our wave 5. You'd expect to see 5 waves, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, in this, we obviously have a very clear structure. We come down, we bounce up, and then we come down. We're going to bounce up, and then we're going to come down. Okay, that there could actually be our 5th wave coming to completion. So we want to be a little bit cautious. I don't want to say that guarantee that we're going down here, because we could still be looking at this as a 3-wave structure to the upside as well. 1, 2, and 3, that could also then turn into an impulsive structure at a later date. So, you know, we've got a lot of things to kind of consider here and think about. It's incredibly complicated at the moment, and I'd say that probably gives us cause to kind of sit back, pause, and wait, get confirmation of a direction before jumping in. Otherwise, we are literally kind of gambling at this point. But I do think that if we are to move down, we've got a limited amount of room to the downside within the structure. We've kind of put that down towards this dashed line at around 18,900 on the kind of the lower end of the scale. And of course, we've got our higher expectations, which eventually I think will be coming in. We just need to see the 4 and 8 hour stochastic RSIs come down before we can get really bullish about it. But I do think there's a good move to the upside to be had here. We are just finishing off this correction, in my opinion, this 5-wave drop to the downside. Before we can bounce up in a corrective pattern towards our $22,500 to $24,500, which, you know, I would expect it to be 3 waves to get there, and inside that could be a whole host of different corrections. But I'll give you guys another update tomorrow morning for BTC. But for now, that's everything I've got. So if you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel, and join us in Discord. Links are in the description below, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one.